Oh my God. This could be the beginning of the end. This could really be the beginning of the end. When Katt Williams appeared on Shannon Sharpe's Shay's Club, and Katt Williams said, "White women scare me. I don't have anything against them. I'm not racist or nothing, but they scare the bejesus out of me." Shannon asked Katt, "Why do you feel that way?" Katt Williams replied, "Because they can make everything you ever worked for disappear. They could bring it all to an end. They can make it all crumble." Here we are. Today, before I even go any further, let me just put this out there so everybody is on the same page. Shannon Sharpe's recent deal with ESPN is a multi-year contract extension. And while the specific figures haven't been publicly released, it's expected to be a significant increase, potentially exceeding $100 million. But that's not all, because brother was getting to the money. He also was rumored to be eyeing a podcast deal that he was about to sign shortly before this scandal broke, which was said to be another deal exceeding $100 million, potentially surpassing his earnings from his entire NFL career. I want you to let that sink in as we get into this material. Welcome back to SoFlo TV again, everybody. It is your host with the most. Now, I got to go back to like 2024 just to put y'all on properly, right? See, there's this article right here that I think you need to hear so you have a full understanding of what it is that this brother stands to lose at the moment. Now, Shannon Sharpe came out today and said he'll be taking some time off from ESPN. Let's be very clear, and every person knows this. When you are locked in a contract with a company, let alone a major corporate entity like a ESPN, you don't just get up and say, "Oh, I'm having some personal issues. I'm taking some time off. I'll see y'all when I see you. I'll see you when football season starts." That's not how it works. A contract is a contract. A contract is binding by law. In other words, you have a boss. You have somebody who dictates what it is you do with that corporate entity. How many days you have to work, how many times per week you have to be in front of the camera for how many hours, how much you're getting paid. You have to schedule your time off and hope that you can get some time off. So I say that to say this. Shannon Sharpe comes out to say, I'm taking some time off to deal with these issues about this $50 million lawsuit and these accusations, which he says are false. That's smoke and mirrors. Shannon Sharpe was told to take some time off. They told him, go ahead and take some time off and let us figure out what we're going to do next. See, they've invested a lot of money in this. Shannon is somebody over at ESPN who has driven their ratings through the roof. So he was getting his shine out of it and they were getting their shine out of it. Well, that relationship might suddenly have come to an end. Why? Because no corporate entity wants to be associated with somebody who is accused of rape and sexual abuse and physical abuse, especially a man. Let me be very clear, especially a big black man who is said to be choking little white woman. If you've been paying attention, you would know where that came from. Okay, so Front Office Sports put this out. This was summer of 2024. Walk with me. Let me take you through this. ESPN extension could set up Shannon Sharpe as Stephen A. Smith's successor. Stephen A. Smith is rolling in the money and recently signed a contract worth over $100 million. Shannon Sharpe is riding one of the great career comebacks in sport TV history. He's on a high. On Monday's edition of First Take, ESPN announced a multi-year contract extension that will keep Shannon Sharpe, who at the time when this news broke, he was 55 years old. This would keep Shannon Sharpe on the top-rated weekday morning debate show and extend his commentary to other programs to be announced later on. Shannon Sharpe has been an incredible addition to the First Take team, enhancing the show's dynamics with his engaging presence and insightful commentary. This is what David Roberts, ESPN's head of event and studio production, said in a statement. Shannon's chemistry with Stephen A. Smith has elevated our debates and been another key reason that First Take is the premier destination for morning sports discussion. Today's announcement came less than a year after Stephen A. Smith recruited Pro Football Hall of Famer Shannon to join him, Molly Querim, and their rotating team of guest debaters on First Take. And only a year after Skip Bayless pushed Sharpe out the door at Fox Sports 1's Undisputed. Sharpe and Bayless, they had worked as TV partners for 6 years, but Sharpe felt that Bayless disrespected him on the air. Y'all remember that? After several on-air blow-ups between the two, the three-time Super Bowl champion had enough, taking a buyout from FS1. So, Skip Bayless is somewhere right now watching this all unfold, probably with a big old smile on his face. But his day came recently too, when he was accused of trying to pay somebody for some punani and was accused of sexual harassment on the job. Back to Shannon's story though. On Monday's show, Shannon Sharpe personally thanked Smith for reaching out at a time when he was perceived as damaged goods. Stephen A. Smith reached out to him. He said, "I can't thank you enough for what you did for me when I was at my lowest, and I didn't know where I was going to go. You called me and you said, bro, everything's going to be okay. I got you." The top-rated First Take recently posted its most watched May ever, averaging 513,000 viewers. That was up 6% over year from 2023. It marks the show's 22nd consecutive month of year-over-year growth. In other words, their ratings were just going through the roof with constant growth. As I previously reported, Smith is clearly grooming Sharpe, the owner, host of the Shay Club podcast, as his successor if he ever leaves ESPN. Right now, Stephen A. Smith must be disappointed as hell. Listen, it's one thing to bring somebody in. I want y'all to open your minds to this discussion right here. Kind of like if you doing business with the mafia, we seen in the mafia movies, right? And the head bosses will tell you, okay, if you vouch for him, then you're responsible for anything that goes wrong that he does. That means you're going to have to whack him, or we're going to have to whack you. So you better know what you're doing inviting this person in. These are two black men at the top of their game. We're talking hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars rotating around in this circle that they're in. Matter of fact, billions of dollars rotating around in the circle that they're in. And one brother reaches out and brings another one in. And this is what happens next. Now, you know, the bosses over at ESPN are kind of looking at Stephen A. Smith like, so that's your judgment. That's your better judgment. This is where we're at now. A big old sex scandal, and the guy came, gave us good ratings, and now this. Wow. According to the bosses over at ESPN, Stephen A. Smith was obviously grooming Shannon Sharpe, who is the owner and the host of Shay's podcast, as his successor if he ever leaves ESPN. That's a mighty position for a brother to put another brother in. Smith's ESPN contract expires next year. This is this year. He's been crystal clear that he wants to be the highest paid employee at ESPN, with his salary possibly reaching $20 million per year. And if he doesn't get it, Smith could pursue a new career as Jimmy Kimmel's possible successor at ABC's late night comedy show. He could enter politics, as he has discussed with Fox's Sean Hannity and elsewhere, or he could go the independent route with his new podcast / YouTube show and production company. Now, Monday was the latest chapter in the three-way soap opera between the former TV partners. Don't forget, Bayless previously plucked Smith off the unemployment line to join him at First Take in 2012. Now Smith has done the same thing for Shannon Sharpe, who Shannon Sharpe and Bayless had a falling out, and Shannon ended up over where Smith is at ESPN. After Bayless pushed Shannon Sharpe's hiring at FS1 in 2016 when he was at loose ends in the sports media business. I say all that to say this. It doesn't look good all the way around. So today, what we have today, headline says Shannon Sharpe steps away from ESPN duties amid this ongoing lawsuit, printed all over the news media. Let's take it from CNN. Shannon Sharpe said that he will temporarily take time away from his role on ESPN after being sued for assault, sexual assault, battery, and sexual battery. He denies the allegations in the lawsuit, of course, that were filed on Sunday by an anonymous woman and her attorneys. We all know now who that woman is. She is no longer anonymous. The first time Shannon sat in front of the camera, this woman went and filed this lawsuit as a Jane Doe. And she wanted to remain a Jane Doe. She was trying to hide her identity. Shannon Sharpe took to camera and immediately exposed exactly who she is. And he told everybody, this is a shakedown. This is, said her name. She's a girl from OnlyFans, and her attorney's name, Busby. See, Shannon Sharpe plays a prominent part on ESPN's morning sports debate show called First Take. Shannon's words were, quote unquote, "I will be devoting my time to my family and responding and dealing with these false and disruptive allegations that are set against me. I plan to return to ESPN at the start of the NFL preseason," he said in a statement that was issued today, Thursday, April 24th of 2025. Again, you don't just pick up and say on a multi-million-dollar contract, hey, I'm out of here. I'll see y'all when football season starts. I'm going to take a break and deal with family and take care. No, your bosses told you this does not look good for ESPN right now. This is taking away from the momentum that the show, or it is bringing too much negative attention to what we have going on over here at the show. Like I said before, the last thing any corporate entity wants is for a group of people gathered outside holding placards saying, "Me too." If they "Me too" him, ESPN is not going to put their neck on the chopping block to save him. They will quickly replace him. So the Pro Football Hall of Famer concluded by thanking his family and his fans and his friends and his colleagues for their support, after saying he's going to take some time off. Following his announcement, ESPN said in a statement that this is a serious situation, and we agree with Shannon's decision to step away. Everybody, you already know that ain't how that went. They called him into that office and they said, Shannon, why, man? Why now? Why this? I understand that you're saying you're innocent, but damn it, Shannon. Listen, you are going to go tell them that you are going to take some time off, and you're going to make it look like it's coming from you. And what we're going to do to buy us some time is we're going to say we agree with your decision to take some time off. Then we're going to say this is a serious situation. After all, ESPN does not want to be caught dead trying to make light of a situation where a woman is saying she was raped and sexually abused, and they're just brushing it to the side. Again, the factor in this that stirs everybody's feathers: big black man, little white woman. Oh, and not to forget the age difference. Shannon Sharpe's legal representative previously told CNN and other news media outlets that the lawsuit was an attempt to shake down the popular podcaster for millions of dollars, and said that he categorically denied all allegations of coercion or misconduct. In other words, I didn't do it. They're trying to take me down. But guess what? In the corporate world, you get your hands a little bit dirty, oh, you're out of there. Especially if you're a black man. Now, in the suit that was filed in Las Vegas District Court, Jane Doe accused the popular host of the Shay podcast of manipulating and controlling the plaintiff during a nearly 2-year period that started in 2023 as a consensual relationship when the woman was 20 years old. I see a lot of people going around saying, oh, she was 19 and he was 55 or 56 and he was messing with a teenager. This is the internet. People are going to do whatever they do to bring across their point. But on paper, the true information says she was 20 years old. 19, 20, no difference, just 1 year apart. However, the truth of the matter is she was 20 years old. Now, before we go any further into any more of this information, just know this, right? So Shannon Sharpe stands to lose out on this ESPN deal. And we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars. Well, we know over $100 million contract extension, right? Well, Shay's Club podcast, Shannon owns that. So he is his own boss. So in that regard, he is smart because he has used one to drive and fuel the other. So Shannon still would have a bag coming in. Now, honestly, in the podcast world, this might be a good thing because this might end up being just extra publicity for his podcast to catapult through the roof, especially if he's able to prove that all these allegations were lies and that he was under a shakedown. They wanted to extort him. But this could seriously backfire if he is found guilty and it is found that he actually did what he is accused of doing or come off looking like he did his podcast without somebody signing that podcast to a multi-million-dollar deal, he doesn't own a platform to put that podcast on. You understand? So again, he could be losing everything. So the civil complaint alleges that Shannon Sharpe, who's 56, violently sexually assaulted and anally raped the plaintiff. Now, here's the thing. If y'all seen her recent release of text message or voice notes where she said, I asked you to use a condom. I begged you to use a condom. She also said something along the lines of, I don't care how many times we did it. When I say no, it's no. No means no. Shannon. She also said, I begged you not to put it in my ass, and you did. And now in her complaint, it says that she was sexually assaulted, violently, and anally raped. And she has text messages to back up that type of a conversation with Shannon. Now, whether it was a setup, that's going to be kind of hard to prove at this point, because she can say, well, it happened and I spoke to him about it after it happened. And here is the proof that I spoke to him about it after it happened. It says it right there. I told you not to put it in my ass, and you did, Shannon. No means no, Shannon. And his reply at that time was, can I call you later? Damn. So this ain't looking good at all. This is not looking good at all. Right now, this situation has people going back and forth with the black and white stuff again. Black women are over here saying, man, you should have stuck to a black woman. You are safer with your own kind. They might give you a lot of headache, a lot of back talk and all that other stuff, but they would never have you in court going through all this. Now, everything that you've worked for and built, this man was on the verge of clearing $200 million off top. And now it seems like none of it is sure or going to happen, depending on how this turns out. This is sad. So the lawsuit states that after many months of manipulating and controlling the plaintiff, the woman, more than 30 years younger than Shannon Sharpe is, repeatedly threatening to brutally choke and violently slap her. He refused to accept the answer no, and he raped the plaintiff despite her sobbing and repeating screams of no. The messed up part is she has backup to prove this. Again, could be a setup, looks like a setup. However, in a court of law, it is about what can be proven. And again, she will be able to prove through text messages, because a lot of people are going to say, well, you know, they used to get kinky all the time and he used to pay her for her services. Well, guess what? Even in the middle of intercourse, if a woman allows you to have intercourse with her and you are enjoying yourself, you busting it wide open, you beating the brakes off it, you doing your thing, and she says, stop, no more. If you don't pull out as a man and stop from that point, guess what? You from that point on, my friend, are committing rape. And she can legally charge you for rape because she told you to stop. She told you stop. If you say, come on, don't you want me? I just want to, just let me finish up. And she goes, no, no, no more. Your ass better get your ass up and get up out of there. Because even in a situation like that, the no supersedes everything. This is going to be crazy to see how this turns out. I'm not getting a good feeling about this, man. I wish and hope all the best for Shannon, but this looks like it could turn out really bad. When asked if Jane Doe had contacted the police during or after the alleged assault, the plaintiff's attorney said he could not comment at this time. Now, that's one thing that might come up in court. Why didn't you tell the police? Why didn't you file a report? Why didn't you XYZ, right? Because there is no police report or anything filed. She just continued a relationship with him for an extended period of time, even after that situation had happened. So some of this might still work in his favor. Your Honor, we role played like that all the time. She would say, I'm going to fight you, and I'm going to say I don't want it. And I want you to put a dog collar around my neck, and I want you to choke me. I want you to beat me up, Daddy. I want you to hurt me. I want you to violate me, and I want you to make me take it. And that's all good in their role-playing, freakish moments. But when it comes to being in a courtroom, once that white woman tears starts to fall, and oh, believe me, the tears are going to fall. Because if somebody told me, you better cry like you're about to get paid $50 million, I would cry my ass off like my mama just died. God forbid. Because my mama is still alive. Now, the attorney told CNN that it takes a great deal of courage to stand up against those who have power and fame and money. He's referring to Shannon Sharpe. But he said, I look forward to pressing this case in court. Shannon Sharpe's attorney, Lanny J. Davis, said that the woman is attempting to blackmail Shannon and that the pair's relationship was always consensual and it was very sexual in nature and in many cases initiated by her with specific and graphic requests. She knew what he liked. She wanted to appeal to his freakiness, and that's how she got the money up out of him. So she would role play these roles. And a lot of the times it was her that initiated it with specific and graphic instructions, requests, which Shannon also has proof and copies of. But again, y'all, remember, this is America. He's a black man. That's a white woman. The attorney said that Shannon Sharpe looks forward to vindication through due process and a judgment based on the facts and based on the law. The complainant is seeking compensatory and punitive damages of more than $50 million. We already heard that Shannon Sharpe allegedly, not allegedly because he admitted it, and so did the attorney from the woman, that he offered $10 million about 2 months ago. And they were in talks about to finalize that $10 million until it was announced that he was going to be signing a $100+ million deal for Shay's podcast. And then suddenly they no longer wanted $10 million. They upped the ante to $50 million. The Pro Football Hall of Famer was inducted as part of the class of 2011. He is a Hall of Famer. Now, he didn't just make it to the NFL. He made it into the Hall of Fame. Shannon Sharpe has won quite a few Super Bowls. He was drafted by the Denver Broncos in 1990 and retired following the 2003 season. That's to give you an idea of how long he played in the NFL. He retired in 2003 as the NFL's all-time leader in catches, yards, and touchdowns by a tight end. The man's record on football in sports is impeccable. Shannon Sharpe also won 2 Super Bowls with Denver, and then he won another one while he was a member of the Baltimore Ravens. All this stuff that you have worked and built and sacrificed to have achieved, is now at risk of you losing all of it. Like Katt Williams said, I ain't racist or nothing. White women scare me. Shannon asked why. Katt said, because. You see what's happening right now? This is what Katt Williams was talking about. Listen, I'm going to leave this one right here. I think this is the beginning of the end of Shannon Sharpe at ESPN. I'm crossing my fingers for the brother, and I'm hoping that it's not so, because I do believe that this is a malicious shakedown. But I know what system we live in, and I know how things work. If he gets out of this and makes it back to ESPN, this would be like he would be the luckiest person in the world. Somehow, I don't think that's what's about to happen. I think this is about to play out a whole nother way. Leave your comments in the comment section below, and I'll catch you on the next video. It's SoFlo TV. I'm out. Peace.